So you know when you watch that show on Netflix that like it's getting rave reviews and everyone's talking about, and you're like, okay, I'll watch it. It's like you're pressured into it almost, and then you just like press play and you watch the pilot, and you're not really expecting much. Like you're expecting like some overrated show that's just garbage, and then you like watch the pilot and you're like, holy crap! And then for the rest of, and then until you finish the show, you're like sucked into it, and you're forever in a void of watching Breaking Bad as Netflix outplays every episode, and you're sucked into watching it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That's Breaking Bad. Season 1, Episode 1 of Breaking Bad, the pilot. Some shows don't really start out that strong. I mean, you have, like, great shows that, like, start out kind of slow and then eventually builds up. Breaking Bad is not one of those shows. Especially when you rewatch the show and you, like, see, like, how much the characters have changed. You're like, you watch the finale and then you just go immediately and watch the pilot and you're like, geez, Walt, you have fallen far. And then you, like, see Jesse, and it's almost like Jesse and Walt, like, switch places over the show. Like, Jesse's this, like, laid back, hey, I got everything figured out. I'm the dude. I'm the Captain Cook. And then you have Walt's. He's this, like, kind of broken human being. And then by the end of the show, they've almost switched places. Like, Walt's more relaxed, and Jesse's, like, being tortured by the Nazis. So it's, like, interesting to see the dynamic of how they've, like, changed throughout the entire show. And I think it's really well handled. So before I get into my real review, here are my quick thoughts on the show. Bryan Cranston is one of the best actors working today. Anna Gunn as Skylar makes me hate her and kind of sympathize with her at the same time. Jesse is awesome. Hank, he's pretty funny. And he's also sad at the end. Hank does a really good job. He changes a lot throughout the show as well. Marie is annoying. She has that, like, smile, like everything's right. You know those, like, perky customer service operators? Like, those, like, hey, how may I help you today? That's basically Marie Schrader, but she's really a shoplifter, and, you know, she's annoying. Not that the actress is bad or anything. She's just her character. And then, like, you have all the great villains, the side characters. You have Gustavo Fring, who's just, like, this cold, like, calculating villain. He's fun, he's interesting, and he's, like, you have these, like, really cool, like, conversations between Walt and Gus, and you're, like, and you see, like, them as they, like, almost, like, become one person, and you, like, see how similar they are and how different they are at the same time. And then you have, like, Mike, Gus's assistant, who is just the most badass grandpa ever. He is awesome. Mike is awesome. Then you have Saul, their lawyer, who is like this, just really such a funny guy, and he's like this. I can't even describe him. He's like so like. If you haven't seen the show, spoiler alert, because just watch the show, then come back to the video. But then like. Saul is just such a great character, and he's like so funny, and he's like quirky, and you like, but at the same time you care for him, and you like see like how his problems interact with Walt and Jesse, and how he's slowly like how Walt and Jesse kind of like ruin his life almost. Then you have like the characters that like recur every now and then. You have like Gale. Gale is the kind of guy that I just feel sorry for. I mean, he was sucked into the meth business for some reason. And he's like this kind of nerdy, like, guy that you really wish could just start over. And after Jesse murders him, it's, like, so sad because you see, like, Jesse is such a broken person after he loses people. In the finale of every season, Jesse loses something. In season 1, he loses, like, Tuco beats him up, so he kind of loses his, like, confidence in that one episode, a No Rough Stuff type deal, season 1, episode 7. In season 2 finale, ABQ, Jane dies. which really like kicks off Walt's transformation. Then you have in season 3, Full Measure, you have him killing Gale. Season 4, Brock is poisoned. In season 5, Mike dies. And then in season 5B, he's held captive by the Nazis. So like in a finale that you can expect Jesse to change some way or another. And it's like fascinating to see like how well the writers have like transformed every character. But the pilot starts off everything perfectly. I think it's a great pilot, and you have all these new characters that you're introduced to, and you like them instantly, even though you might learn to hate them later. So the pilot episode of Breaking Bad opens up with an RV. You don't really know who's inside of it or what's going on. Then you see Walter in his underpants and a gas mask. You don't know who he is yet, and he's like, you're panicking because it's such a great opening scene. I think it's like very in your face. So the pilot episode of Breaking Bad starts off with an RV. Walt's in the RV, but you don't know who he is yet. You don't know what's in the RV. You don't know what's going on. Then you see this guy in his underwear and a gas mask with his passed out partner next to him. And you're like, what the is going on? And you're like, what's going on? And then Walt gets out of the vehicle because he crashes. And he's freaking out. He takes his gas mask off. He grabs a camcorder. And he records himself making a confession tape. That'll be more important later. And he's like, my name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at 308 Negro Royal Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico. For all law enforcement entities, this is no longer a confession of guilt. I'm speaking to my family now. And you like see him, like his character's like anxiety in that first shot. And then he goes over and he sees like the sirens in the background, and he's like, oh no. And so he walks up, he grabs Jesse's gun he grabs Crazy 8's gun from the back of the RV, and he puts it in his tighty whities, and he walks up, and like you see like what's going on in his eyes, and you see the panic, but you see like the control, that he has the control in the situation, and you get a glimpse of what Heisenberg's threat is later. And it's almost like parallel to like him shooting the Nazis at the end. And you like see it in his eyes, like he's ready to shoot, and he's ready to shoot any cop that comes by. And he like stares down the barrel of the gun. And then he just decides, well, never mind. He gets to that later. So he stares down the barrel of the gun. Opening sequence is over. And then you go to that, and then you see the first opening sequence with the music and the transition and the extended sequence, if you watch that on YouTube. It's really cool, actually. You get all the characters and stuff, but I'll get into that later. So then you meet Walt. He's kind of sad. You see him on like this exercise thing that he's like, and you see like him effortlessly just like walking on this thing, and he's like, it's kind of like, oh, come on, it's another day in the life of Walter White. What crap is gonna be in my life next? And you like get cuts of like on the wall, Gray Matter Technologies, Nobel Prize. You see all these like super respectable like awards that he's gotten over the years for chemistry and stuff. And then you cut to him in the morning. You see him at the dinner table, at the breakfast table, and he's like eating breakfast, and you see Walter Jr.'s first love with breakfast. Jesse, we gotta cook. Walter needs some breakfast. He's starving. And then you see like almost like Walt's this like pathetic like glare as like he drinks his orange juice and he complains about veggie bacon. And then he gets up and he goes out to his work, which it's not something good. He's a high school chemistry teacher for students who just don't give a crap. They're just these obnoxious kids that don't care about chemistry, and they're like, all right, I'm gonna go to college so I can get drunk. Yeah. And so they're just like, and Walt is so passionate about chemistry. He wants to teach them what chemistry is about, and he wants to like show them like the intricacies of chemistry. He wants to like see like show them like how chemicals change their bonds and how everything is, how we're all made of matter. And he's like, chemistry, by definition, is the study of matter. But I prefer to think of it as a study of change. And you see, that one line foreshadows the entire show. Because the story of Walter White is technically the story of Walter White. But it's the story of how he transforms from Walter White into Heisenberg. And you see him from the pilot to Felina. And you see him just change, and you see him grow, and you see him get into this horrible figure of a man that just, you see the last shred of Walter in the finale, and then when he dies, nothing is left. He's Heisenberg. So after he teaches these kids about chemistry, he goes to his second job at a car wash. And at the car wash, he again feels like he's not respected. I mean, he works at A1A Car Wash, which will become a crucial plot point later. And his boss, Bogdan, his eyebrows and his personality, he just doesn't like Walter. And, like, you don't really know why he doesn't like Walter. He just doesn't like him because he's Walter. And so, like, then he passes out at his car wash. And he goes and he's rushed to the ER where he's told that he has terminal lung cancer. On his 52nd birthday, he's told he has terminal lung cancer. Great birthday gift. And so he has about 18 months to live is what the doctors give him. And he's sent home and he's like, he doesn't want to tell his family because he doesn't want to cause too much drama. He's not the kind of guy at this point that doesn't want to argue for the sake of arguing, but later he just wants to be Walter White, or the one who knocks. And he wants to, he just wants to avoid any awkward situation that he can. It's his birthday. He doesn't want his family to know. He doesn't want to cause stress. He doesn't want anybody to find out at this point. And then he gets surprised at his birthday party. And then you see Hank. This is the first time you see Hank. He's pretty funny in this opening scene, and you see him, and they watch TV, and he's like, oh, this is on the channel, it's me, I'm on TV, because he's being interviewed because he busted a meth lab. And he's like, Hank, how much money is that? He's like, oh, about $737,000. Not a bad haul. And he's like, is that the most you've ever seen? He's like, definitely not the most I've ever seen. It's actually pretty low in terms of, how much money you get making meth. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, well, just say the word and take you for a ride along. He's like, someday. And then, he goes and he, goes to then later he goes to the meth lab, and they bust Emilio, who is, becomes more important later in the episode because Walt actually does business with Emilio. And so then he sees Jesse getting out of the window and trying to run away. And he's like, Mr. White? Oh, God, I'm screwed. He's like, and then Walter comes up to him later that night, and he's like, I'm not here to arrest you, Jesse. You're a meth cook? That's not at all what I thought you would be. It takes some serious chemistry skills, doesn't it? He's like, yeah, it takes serious chemistry skills. I'm a scientist, yo. He's like, Jesse's introduced as this, when you first see Jesse, you could be like, he could go both ways. He could be one of those crappy television actors who's those young television actors has had their life handed to them on a silver platter, and they're like, yeah, yo. But no, Jesse's not like that at all. Jesse is a complex character, and he is so well handled and so well acted by Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul gives him one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. So they partner up and they cook meth for the first time. But then they come to a brick wall. Who do they distribute it to? Who do they sell it to? So they get some distributors named Emilio and Crazy 8, who quickly betray Walt as he locks them in the meth lab as he explodes and poisons them. So what do they do next? that's where we come to the opening scene. He drives around trying to avoid any contact with anybody, and then he crashes. You see, from what we saw earlier, he has the gun in his hand. He's like ready to shoot, and then he's just like, no. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, and he takes the gun, and he's like, but it's blank, and he's like, and then he like cocks it, and he's like, and he's like startled by it, and he's like doesn't know like what to do because it's a gun, and he doesn't really know anything about guns. He's way in over his head at this point. And then he walks back and he tries to like hide himself, and then the alarm, the siren, turns out to just be an ambulance trying to put out the fire that he started earlier. So he's not in trouble at all. And then you go home, and then that's the end. That's the pilot episode of Breaking Bad. That was a great first episode for Breaking Bad. It was exactly what Breaking Bad needed. It was funny, it was sad, it was dramatic, it was weird, it was kind of surreal at moments. It was perfect for what Breaking Bad wanted to be and what it transformed into. So that's the pilot Breaking Bad. What'd you think about it? Did you like it just as much as I did, or did you think it sucked? I don't know. I hope you didn't think it sucked, because I think it's awesome. And your opinion's wrong if you don't like it. But you can have your own opinion, whatever. But my opinion's right. So, you can go and comment below. Tell me what you think about it. And, yeah, I'll see you next time in Season 1, Episode 2, Cats in the Bag.